And how's it going, everyone? It is Skullzi here, and today I want to break down the most recent Bethesda news, because again, it's kinda quiet on this side of Bethesda. There isn't any real big news or anything like that, but there are some new and interesting things that I do want to break down in today's video. So again, this is gonna be another one of those Bethesda news roundup videos, where I break down the most recent happenings and pieces of information related to Bethesda Softworks, Bethesda Game Studios, InStudios, basically everything underneath that Bethesda umbrella. And we're gonna start our adventure right here over on Twitter, because friend of the channel, Timur222, found something interesting. Again, if you don't follow Timur over on Twitter, you are missing out, because he does discover a lot of interesting stuff. And his most recent discovery comes from Michael Kirkbride, of all places, because on Michael Kirkbride's LinkedIn profile, you can scroll all the way down here and discover that, surprisingly, this giant monster news game, this mysterious giant monster news IP, was in development way back in April of 2000. And apparently Michael Kirkbride was a senior artist and a designer on Giant Monster News, which apparently was being developed or co-developed by someone named eNexus. And I did a lot of searching and I can't exactly discover who eNexus is. I find like a lot of software and data management companies named eNexus, and there is a game development studio named Nexus that I think makes mobile games, but I don't think it's connected to this. But either way, it's kind of weird seeing Michael Kirkbride be attached to this mysterious Giant Monster News game. And now Giant Monster News is even more interesting and mysterious, because it wasn't originally filed by ZeniMax and thus Bethesda until December of 2015, which means that Giant Monster News has actually existed now for like 20 freaking years. So what is this game? This game hasn't died or been abandoned in 20 freaking years, and apparently Michael Kirkbride must have brought the idea, or the game, or whatever, over to Bethesda at some point, because Bethesda assumed the mantle of developing Giant Monster News in 2015, and this trademark still exists, it's still being updated, so whatever this is probably going to come out at some point, which I don't know if it's going to live up to the entire time that it's been in development, but either way, at least we'll finally be able to figure out whatever Giant Monster News is, because I believe Giant Monster News is probably a smaller project, like a mobile game or something like that, which is still weird that it has persisted this long and jumped from one company to another and was smuggled into Bethesda by Michael Kirkbride. Obviously that didn't happen, I'm just joking, he apparently brought it over, I'm assuming, because he had something to do with it. But either way, maybe we'll find out what this is, maybe it'll get abandoned, who knows, but Giant Monster News lives on behind the scenes. Next up, a small and quick thing, there is a new UI programmer job posting that was posted by Bethesda Game Studios actually yesterday, and if I had to take my guess, I would guess that this UI programmer job posting is probably linked to the Elder Scrolls 6, as I am almost certain the user interface or whatever for Starfield would be finished by now, or at least would basically be what we'd get by the time the game is released, because I still think Starfield will come out in late 2021, but I guess it might come out in 2022. If Starfield does unfortunately come out in 2022, then that means that this UI programmer job posting might be for Starfield still, but either way, it should be expected that the user interface will be improved for the next generation of Bethesda Game Studios games, and this is even more proof of that. Another quick thing, apparently today is Tango Gameworks' 10th anniversary. So congratulations to 10 years for Tango Gameworks. Bethesda Game Studios put this little trailer up to celebrate Tango Gameworks, and they do make a lot of good games. The Evil Within was a great game. I am super excited for Ghostwire Tokyo, and while on the topic of Ghostwire Tokyo and Tango Gameworks, that brings us to our next story, because Shinji Mikami was interviewed by Variety 2 days ago, and he talked about a little bit of his work in the gaming industry, perhaps what he would like to do next, and an interesting thing that I kind of wanted to point out in this video. If you want to read this interview for yourself, you can find a link for it here on the screen or down in the description below. It is pretty interesting, but the main thing I want to talk about is Shinji was asked what he would like to do next in the gaming industry, and he basically said he would like to make an entire game from the very beginning until its end, meaning from the ground up completely, which I kind of think he means he wants to make an entire new IP that is his idea, his design, his creation, kind of like how Ghostwire Tokyo was essentially Akumi Nakamura's creation before she mysteriously left Bethesda right after the game was announced. And what makes this even more interesting is it seems like this new game project that Shinji would want to make from the ground up would be perhaps the last thing he does in the gaming industry, and then he would leave gaming behind, or at least leave gaming behind as a director. And that's actually pretty interesting, because Shinji took over as creative director director for Ghostwire Tokyo after Ikumi left. So maybe he kind of wants to actually make his own game. Maybe he's not interested in taking the creation of Ikumi of somebody else and carrying it to fruition until it's released. He actually seems like he wants to make his own game, and it's interesting to think that that would be his last take as a creative director or a director in the gaming industry. Maybe this whole entire Ikumi Nakamura and Ghostwire Tokyo thing left a sour taste in his mouth as well, meaning he didn't like how that whole situation went down, and he would have liked to see Ikumi finish her creation, and that way he could eventually make his own creation as well. But either way, that's just my own take on this. He didn't exactly say that per se, but that's just kind of what I take away from this interview. Like I said, link is down in the description below. It's definitely worth a read, and it is pretty interesting that all this is going down, that he says all of this after he takes the reins for Ghostwire as a creative director. Another quick update before we get to the last story of the day, which is a bit of that Starfield release date speculation. InStudios recently gave a pretty heartfelt thank you to the community and highlighting how they are excited to bring more Doom Eternal content to the community as well. This is a pretty good read. They posted it over on Twitter and maybe over on the Bethesda blog site as well. I haven't checked that for myself, but this is very nice to see InStudios actually still existing after like 30 years, 30 plus years in the gaming industry, because you gotta remember, InStudios was the original studio that made Doom, obviously, and they're still making that game. They're the original creators of Quake and even Wolfenstein, and John Romero, the legendary John Romero and John Carmack all actually had their time in InStudios as well. InStudios is a legendary game developer, one of the most legendary game developers of all time actually, and I am super grateful to see them still around and doing very well, and to be very thankful to the community as well. They're made up of very, very passionate and skilled game developers. Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal and basically every game that InStudios has made has basically stood out in the gaming industry, and I'm looking forward to see what they do in the days to come. I hope they stay with Bethesda, because I think they found a good home with Bethesda Softworks, and this was a very, very nice, heartfelt letter to the community from InStudios. And to finish up today's video, we got this kind of like low-key speculative statement by Danny O'Dwyer, who obviously is behind the highly acclaimed no-clip video game documentary and just video game journalism channel. They do very, very good interviews and in-depth documentaries about games that have either already come out or are yet to come out. They've done a bunch on Bethesda, and I'm sure you already know who Danny O'Dwyer is, but he was asked basically what he thought would come out first, GTA 6, The Elder Scrolls 6, or some MMO that Riot announced recently that they were working on, and Danny O'Dwyer basically says he thinks Starfield will come out in 2022 and The Elder Scrolls 6 will come out in 2025. But bear in mind, he is operating on all the same information that the community has, I believe. However, it is important to note that maybe Danny actually has some kind of inside information that we don't have, that he could be basing his release date estimations off of, because if anyone would have access to that kind of information, it would be Danny, because he is in pretty close with Bethesda, having done several interviews with them, and he was in the Bethesda VIP section at BE3 2018 because I saw him there myself, so he is in very close with Bethesda. However, you gotta keep in mind, he is probably just making a guess as well. I doubt, even if he was in close with Bethesda and had some kind of inside information, he probably wouldn't be told what he thinks the release date would be, because we all know if Bethesda is quiet about anything, which they are quiet about everything, they would be quiet about their future release dates for Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6. But either way, I just felt like this was worth mentioning in today's video, because I'm sure people would ask me about this as well. But that's everything I wanted to talk about in today's Bethesda News Roundup. As always, let me know what you think about all this down in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn notifications on. And if you want to help grow the channel and the community, be sure to share this video, because sharing content is 100% the best way to help grow a channel and the community, and YouTube has actually been suppressing my content lately and not showing me 2 new subscribers. My subscribers have actually been the same for a couple months now, believe it or not. So if you want to share content, that would be a great help for the channel. And as always, thank you to these amazing people who went above and beyond to support the channel and bring you this content. If you want to get your name added to this list, you can support the channel over on Ko-fi, Patreon, or here on YouTube as an exclusive channel member for as low as $3. Links for all this and more are down in the description below. And as always, thank you for watching. Be sure to tune in next time when Todd Howard. Oh wait, he didn't appear. They told me if I put these slippers on and said that, Todd Howard would appear. Damn it, I wanted to ask him some questions.
It just works.